Please stand for the singing of our national anthem, which will be sung by Stephanie Buttleman.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Stephanie. Please be seated. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Capuano, and I am the University Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs. I am delighted to welcome everyone with us today, students, faculty, staff, administrators, trustees, platform party members, and all guests to the Academic Convocation of Fairleigh Dickinson University for the 2015-2016 academic year. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce those members of the platform party who are not active participants in this afternoon's program. Please stand as I call your name, and I ask the audience to please hold your applause until I have introduced everyone. Kenneth Verkins, Dean of Petrocelli College. Hanya Ferrara, Senior Vice President for Finance and Chief Operating Officer. John Codd, University General Counsel. Richard Reese, Senior Vice President for University Advancement. Richard Frick, Vice President for Facilities and Auxiliary Services. Professor Gary Darden, President of the Faculty Senate. Professor Karen Denning, Vice President of the Faculty Senate. Neil Sturm, Vice President and Chief Information Officer. And Sarah Azevedo, President of the Professional Administrative Senate. Board of Trustees, Patrick J. Zenner, Chairman. Franklin Jennifer. Donna Markey, William O'Neill, Ann Petrocelli, Robert Perez, Mary Kay Stratus, and Anthony Vespa. I also want to introduce our Deans of Students. Please stand as I call your name. Jasmine Verum, Dean of Students at the Florham campus. And Michelle McCrory, Dean of Students at the Metropolitan campus. I also want to recognize the leaders of the student government associations on each campus. They are Shi Porter Yang SGA President at the Florham campus, represented by Vice President of the Florham SGA, Christine Peskoski, and Michelle Seepersod, SGA President at the Metropolitan campus. She Porter Yang, who is not with us today, is a member of the honors program and is triple majoring in political science, criminology, and sociology with a minor in pre-law. Porter grew up in Taiwan and attended middle and high school in Australia. He has served as the president of the Asian Culture Club, an SGA senator, a resident assistant, teacher's assistant, a Becton College student leader, and a member of the FDU mock trial team. Michelle is a senior majoring in business administration with a minor in speech. She is a member of the Omega Phi Chi Multicultural Society, Inc. She has enjoyed working as a volunteer for undergraduate admissions for the past 3 years. And her goal for the SGA this year is to make the organization more cohesive and better adapted to facilitate the needs of the diverse student body at the Metropolitan campus. Are there any retired faculty in attendance this afternoon? If so, please stand and be recognized. All right, with such lovely weather, I'm sure they're out enjoying the day, as I would. Good. I would also like to acknowledge all of the faculty, staff, and students who are in the auditorium today and seated in various locations. And also in absentia, the faculty, staff, and students who are at our other campuses, our Vancouver campus in British Columbia, Canada, and our Roxton College campus in Oxfordshire, England. Thank you all. Now it is my pleasure to present the deans of our colleges who will introduce their new faculty. Faculty should stand when their name is called and remain standing until all names have been called in their college. I ask the audience to hold their applause until all names are read in a particular college. First, Jeffrey Wyman, Dean of the Maxwell Becton College of Arts and Sciences, will introduce the new faculty in Becton College.
Thank you, Provost Capuano. It's my pleasure to introduce faculty new to Becton College this fall. Mohammed El Shabani, Clinical Lecturer in Biological and Allied Health Sciences. Christine Foster, Lecturer in Communication Studies. Luz E. Huertas, Lecturer in History and Spanish. Frederick Lee, Lecturer in Biochemistry. Jordan Nowotny, Assistant Professor, Criminology. Catherine Shirley, Assistant Professor, Counseling Education. Guryat Singh, Assistant Professor, Computer Science. And Vincent Viglione, Clinical Assistant Professor, Counselor Education. Welcome to all of you.
Next, Michael Alvatroni, Dean of the School of Pharmacy, will introduce the new faculty in pharmacy.
Good afternoon. It's with great pleasure that I extend my welcome to the new faculty within the School of Pharmacy, including Sybil Sherian, Clinical Assistant Professor of Pharmacy Practice, Nicole East, Clinical Assistant Professor of Pharmacy Practice, Paiboon Jungsuwati, Associate Professor of Pharmaceutical Science, Christine Lam, Clinical Assistant Professor of Pharmacy Practice, Suhua Lee, Lecturer of Pharmaceutical Science, Alexandra Libman, Clinical Assistant Professor of Pharmacy Practice, Maria Liebfried, Clinical Assistant Professor of Pharmacy Practice, and Otitu Iwachukwu, Assistant Professor of Pharmaceutical Science. Welcome on behalf of all of us at the School of Pharmacy.
And next, Patty Mills, Dean of University College, Arts, Sciences, Professional Studies, will introduce the new faculty in University College.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to welcome the following faculty to University College. Jeannie Cooper, Assistant Professor of Nursing. Jennifer Cleveland, Logan Family Trust Lecturer in Psychology. Elliot Goldman, Assistant Professor of Psychology. Nicole Hansen, Assistant Professor of Learning Disabilities. Stephanie Honchel, Assistant Professor of History. Stanley Huddy, Assistant Professor of Mathematics. Kyle Cattleman, Assistant Professor of Political Science. Mary Malloy, Clinical Assistant Professor of Nursing. Camilla Overup, Assistant Professor of Psychology. Ravi Ranjan, Visiting Assistant Professor of Genetics. Oliver Rao, Assistant Professor of Computer Engineering and Computer Science. Mary Carol Rossignol, Associate Professor of Nursing. Alexander Rudny, Assistant Professor of Computer Science. And Carrie Schenefeld, Assistant Professor of English. Welcome.
And finally, Andrew Rossman, Dean of the Silverman College of Business, will introduce the new faculty in Silverman College.
Thank you, Chris. On behalf of my colleagues in Silverman College, I'd like to recognize the following individuals. David Caban, who is now an assistant professor of accounting, having just completed his PhD. So in contrast to the way he's listed as an instructor, he's now an assistant professor of accounting. Dominic Celentano, who's a clinical assistant professor in entrepreneurship. Scott McGregor, who's an assistant professor of accounting, tax, and law. Kwan Ji Mun, who's a lecturer in information systems and decision sciences. And also, who's not listed, this is a very recent addition, Mahmoud Montasser, who's a lecturer in finance and economics. Welcome.
And now it is my privilege and pleasure to invite President Sheldon Drucker to address you.
Good afternoon. I remember being on the stage some years ago, listening to Michael Adams talk about Peter Sammartino's dream. Fairleigh Dickinson University was founded on a dream. It was founded by an educational pioneer who wanted to offer students something different, something better, an education of and for the world. It's really an incredible story, and you and I are so fortunate to share this legacy and add our own pieces to this dream. I was lucky enough to work for two presidents who shared the dream, Frank Mertz and then Michael Adams. Frank and Michael helped revive the dream and inspire the university. When my turn came, I knew I had big shoes to fill. But I knew I had something to offer, and maybe even more importantly, I knew how much I cared about fulfilling the dream. When this year is over and my time as president is concluded, I hope you will be able to say that FDU has continued its great momentum and that our foundation has grown even stronger. And I believe you will be able to say that FDU faced and overcame difficult challenges. I believe you'll be able to say that we have prospered while others in the same environment suffered serious blows. And I believe that you can say that we have a clear direction for the future and that our potential for tomorrow is even greater than it has ever been. I do believe these things are true and will be true at the end of the year. But I don't believe I can take much credit. The credit goes to you. It goes to an exceptionally talented and caring community that is resilient, devoted, and most often successful. I'm honored to represent you in everything you do, and I'm honored and humbled to support you. Great dreams don't become reality easily. It takes hard work and it takes teamwork. It's taken your work to make our dreams a reality. That will continue to be the case this year and in the future under President Capuano. FDU does have great leadership, but leadership without a great team means nothing. I wrote to you earlier this year that I'm getting asked the question over and over now that I'm going to retire and what I'm going to do, and I really don't know. What I do know and what I want to do now is to continue to work and her work as hard as I can to support each one of you and help us continue to fulfill the FDU dream, and along the way help our students make their dreams come true. Thank you for being here. Thank you for serving our students. And thank you for making the FDU dream a reality. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Joseph Kiernan. I'm the provost for the Metropolitan Campus, and my duty right now is to introduce our keynote speaker. I could probably speak about this person for the next 15 or 20 minutes, but somebody wrote into the script here, limit remarks to the script. And the script says, introduce the keynote speaker, Professor Kyati Joshi. Professor Joshi.
Thank you, Provost Kiernan. It's a privilege and a real honor to be giving the keynote speech and to be here with y'all today. It's particularly meaningful for me to give this year's convocation address in 2015 because it's the 50th anniversary of the Immigration Act of 1965. A major reason why we have the racial, ethnic, religious diversity we have today. And me and my family have a lot to thank for it because I literally wouldn't be standing here in front of you if it wasn't for this Immigration Act. It's how my family came. My father worked in Altoona, Pennsylvania, then we went to Akron, Ohio, and then we settled in Atlanta, Georgia, hence the y'all. Along with being my immigration story, it's also the story of many people actually here in Wilson Auditorium, many people on our campuses and across the country. The doors had been shut pretty much between 24 and 65. The US historians in here are probably getting a little edgy because there's a few minor exceptions in there, but I don't have time to go into the exceptions. But between 24 and 65, as I like to say to my students, you know, Lady Liberty's torch, it really should have been kind of put away. But in 65, our doors opened again. But here's the thing. While we took in immigrants, while the United States took in immigrants from around the world, it was only open to a certain class of professionals. That's who we needed, so that's who we let in. The Immigration Act of 1965 welcomed doctors, MDs, PhDs, scientists, nurses, and engineers. We needed engineers because of the space race. Russia was kind of beating our butts, and the United States was not very happy about it, particularly President Kennedy. We needed doctors and nurses because we had Medicare and we're about to go into Vietnam. This process is known as state selection. The US got the best and brightest. Indeed, my father's a physician, that's how he came. My uncle, chemical engineer, that's how he came. But my other relatives who didn't have those academic credentials couldn't come. Around the world, this is also known as the brain drain. If you've ever had an African or Asian doctor, this is why. If you've ever been taken care of by a Filipina nurse, this is why. And this is one of the reasons that some of our departments look the way they do. In 1967, US News and World Report had an article and described Asians as the model minority. Newsweek, trying to outdo them in 71, said Asian Americans are out-whiting the whites. And Fortune in 1986 dubbed them as the super minority. In not so many words, what these articles were saying and what our society has been saying ever since is that why can't African Americans be more like Asian Americans? Why can't Hispanics be more like Asian Americans? That's really what's being said. Indeed, not all Asian Americans are good at math and science, and it is a stereotype. I love religion, I'm in religion, I do nothing with math and science. And I'm Indian American. The myth of the model minority impacts the education of Asian American students. When educators say, we love Asian American students, and if I had $1 for every administrator and every educator who ever said that to me, I could quit my job. What we're really saying is we love students whose parents are professionals. Because of state selection, the idea has become racialized, and unless we can understand this history, we can't unpack and understand the stereotype of the model minority and how that impacts race relations. Ooh, I got too close, okay. If you can hear and see how much fun I'm having up here, and I really do have a good time talking about this stuff, it's why I look forward to Thursday nights. Thursday night's my most favorite night of the week because I teach my multicultural ed class. It's also a good night because Scandal's on, but that's not the main reason I like Thursday nights. Multicultural education is a class where we talk about racism and sexism and homophobia and classism. If it makes you nervous and if it makes you uncomfortable, we cover it in class. Here's the thing. We've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Then we can truly engage in real, open, honest conversations. You know, when your blood starts going and your palms get a little sweaty and you maybe kind of want to leave the room because of the nature of the conversation, that's when you actually need to hang in there and we're making progress. Each week, the class starts with current events, and I'm never hurting for current events in this class. We talk about county clerks and marriage equality. We talk about policing and crime in urban areas. There's a lot of anti-immigrant rhetoric to be talking about, and I want students to think about the question of who is an American and what constitutes an American in the 21st century. A classroom is exactly where you can discuss and think about all these nuances of these situations and about the lessons they offer. When approaching these hot button topics, whether it's in my writing or my teaching, I'm not interested in blaming. Instead, I'm interested in examining the structures and processes in society that are invisible, but that shape everything we know. My scholarship and teaching is focused on making the invisible structures and processes visible. One of the things that when we're talking about racism and sexism and many of these other isms, the discussions often become about the prejudice and bias that happens to the target group. So if we're talking about homophobia, our energies are focused on talking about what happens with gay and lesbian folks. If we're talking about sexism, we're talking about the biases and discrimination faced by women. And when we're talking about racism, we're talking about the different communities of color who are targets of bias and discrimination. But here's the thing. To really understand what's going on, we need to understand what's going on with the dominant group, with the agent group, with the group that has the social power. We talk about various communities of color as being disadvantaged, and indeed sometimes we use the phrase disadvantaged groups because maybe somebody just doesn't want to say African American or Hispanic or something. But if there's a disadvantaged group, there's an advantaged group. If there's a down, there's got to be an up. All right, and when we're talking about race in America, we need to be talking about the advantages that are embedded in our laws and public policies that benefit white folks. These are things we are not really taught to see. We are taught to see laws as neutral, and they're anything but. Of course, we are more than just our racial identities. A white person can also be a white working class person. A white person can be a Jewish person. And sometimes a white working class person might say to me, "What do you mean to say that I have white privilege? I don't have privilege. What are you talking about?" And it's really understandable why that happens, because for the working class or poor person, what makes them different is their class. That becomes the most salient identity, or one of the most salient identities for them. For someone who's white and Jewish, being Jewish is why sometimes they are different, and that is one of the reasons it can become a very salient identity. Where we are different is where our focus goes. These folks are also white, and it's really, really important that they come to understand that that's a part of their identity too. And it's when we can think about our identities in terms of where we are kind of targeted, where we face discrimination and prejudice, and where we actually are part of normal, we're normal, you know, then we can better understand the different experiences. For the invisible working class white person and Jewish person that I'm talking about, their whiteness and certainly their white privilege is invisible to them. When you're just like everyone else, it's hard to see something. It's hard to see that you are just part of what's normal. All right, something else we often hear about in society and is sometimes there'll be a news headline that says, well, whites will soon be a minority, probably as soon as 2050. But here's the thing, just because there's more to social power than numbers. 275 years of law and public policies are not going to just whoosh, magic, disappear when we hit that number, and whites indeed are a numerical minority. There's still the 275 years of advantages that have happened. Racism there's no way it started with the inception of this republic, but we started putting down laws right away that designated who could come in, who could be a citizen. 14 years after the Declaration of Independence, where, of course, it said all men are created equal, all men are created equal. 14 years later, Congress passed the Naturalization Act of 1790 that declared you had to be a free white man to be a citizen of the United States. This law was not rescinded until 1952. In between, different racial communities did gain citizenship and the right to become a citizen, but it was very, very hard fought. The laws and many actions by Congress and various court decisions, both the high court and lower courts, decided who could come to the United States and who could become a citizen. For example, when European groups came over, while they were not socially accepted and faced a lot of discrimination, they were legally accepted and they could become citizens. This was not the case for Asian Americans and for people we identify as Arab Americans today. They had to actually petition the courts to try to gain citizenship, and that's a different lecture for a different day. But again, it wasn't until 1952 that once you'd fulfilled all the requirements to become a citizen, that anyone could become a citizen. And I'm proud to say that I am a naturalized citizen. U.S. laws have enduring legacies on our social realities. I want to turn back for a moment to the issue of privilege and advantage. Understanding privilege, whether we're talking white privilege, class privilege, male privilege, straight privilege, all the privileges, and how it works, is just as powerful as understanding the plight of what happens to all the different target groups in our society. But here's the thing that makes that difficult. Looking at our own privilege isn't easy. First, nobody likes to think about being the beneficiary of unearned privileges. We believe that our nation and our society are meritocracies, and those who rise to the top are those who earned it by skill and hard work. Growing up in Cobb County, Georgia, I always knew I was different. I was a little brown Hindu girl in the South. I knew what it meant to be non-white in a place. I knew what it meant to be non-white. I knew how it felt to be non-Christian in a place that's dominated by megachurches, and the megachurches being where my classmates go. Being Indian American and Hindu is what made me different. These identities were highly salient for me. But you want to know something? I never thought about being straight. I, like most other teenagers, used homophobic slurs all the time in high school, and no adult ever told me not to. I kind of knew, I think, what gay was, but I don't think I really knew what it was until I was in college. And it really wasn't until it was my early 20s that I started even thinking about what it meant to have heterosexual privilege. Things like being able to hold my boyfriend's hand at the time and walk down the street. And then I thought about the fact that my friends who are gay and lesbian can't necessarily do that so easily. At the time, of course, I felt really awful about the fact that someday I'll get married, and that's sanctioned by law, but my friends can't. And thankfully, as of June 26th this year, marriage equality is the law of the land. And but there's still some work to do, because just because we have a legal mandate doesn't mean we have a social one. I said that. I go off script, as you've probably figured out. It's very easy. Thinking about privilege feels, to say a very highly academic term, icky. It feels real icky, because you don't want these privileges if you have them. And it's for the same reasons it feels icky to me to think about straight privilege, why I think it's difficult to have conversations about white privilege and the concept of whiteness. It's difficult for white folks to recognize and reconcile that they've got advantages just because of how they were born and how they're classified in the country. But here's the thing. It needs to be done. When you've lived your whole life with unearned advantage, creating a level playing field can feel like that things are becoming skewed against you. So when we provide accommodations, or we see them provided for our colleagues and our children's classmates, we need to recognize that leveling the field is all that's happening. We can look at disadvantage till the cows come home. We need to focus on power and privilege to really get at the problem and start finding solutions. I wish you all a wonderful academic year, and I'd like to congratulate the 3 awardees. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Joshi, for a very important and informative keynote. So here's the thing. We're now going to move to recognition of faculty and staff for their accomplishments. Beginning with the presentation of University Distinguished Faculty Awards. I am now pleased to present the recipients of the 2015 Distinguished Faculty Awards, who are being honored for their outstanding contributions to the university. The recipients of this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Service is Professor of Chemistry, Mihaela D. Leonida. Mihaela, please join me at the podium. Just stand and listen, okay? What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead, said Nelson Mandela, the late statesman, anti-apartheid activist, and former president of South Africa. A large part of the difference you make here at FDU, Professor Leonida, and also in your field, is in this area of service, be it to your students, advisees, or colleagues. You deliver academic services to students beyond the classroom, working tirelessly on their behalf as an advisor. In fact, those Metropolitan Campus students interested in continuing on to professional degrees fall under your purview. She has been instrumental in the placement of many FDU graduates in the professional schools of their choice and has created an enviable track record, says an FDU colleague. In 2012 and 2013, you helped a total of 38 students get accepted into professional and graduate programs at schools including Harvard, Georgetown, and Tufts universities. A colleague writes, Dr. Leonida's service to the university, however, is not limited to advising. Under her leadership, FDU maintains articulation agreements with professional schools ranging from dentistry to veterinary. Of the 18 articulated programs running at the present time, 11 were initiated by Dr. Leonida. Managing and fostering these relationships is a time-consuming responsibility, but it's one that yields untold benefits for our students once they graduate from FDU and move on to pursue medical, chiropractic, nutritional, and physical therapy degrees elsewhere. Additionally, you serve as advisor to the Pre-Health Professional Club and the Tri Beta Honor Society on campus and organize pre-professional fairs and research symposiums, and also evaluate proposals for Fulbright Awards. All of these commitments show time and again the enthusiasm you have for your students and the pride you take in helping them achieve their academic goals. Alongside FDU colleagues, you've served on University College's Educational Planning Committee, plus Personnel Review and Evaluation Committees, and you have worked on Middle State's reaccreditation. Beyond the walls of FDU, you show your dedication to the chemistry field by sitting on the board of directors of the New York section of the American Chemical Society and serving as secretary for the Hudson-Bergen Chemical Society. And so, it is with great appreciation for your dedication that we present to you today the Distinguished Faculty Award for Service. Congratulations. Let's come here to take a picture. If you wish.
I definitely wish to address some things at least. First, I thank Jim Dougherty, who thought that I deserve this award and put it in writing as many times as needed to make it happen. A huge debt of gratitude goes to Harvey Winters, to whom I have been thanking by paying it forward. I also want to thank all those who over the years along the road make Fairleigh feel like home away from home for me. And to conclude the thanks, I would like to thank Maria and Jim, the source of my strength at home. And over the summer, humbled by the news that I will be receiving that award, I thought a lot about service, its meaning, and I would like to conclude with something Ralph Waldo Emerson said, and I quote, "A person's life is limited, but service to people is limitless." I want to devote my limited life to serving the people limitlessly. And that's the quote. I still think about it, and yes, it is a worthy pursuit, I think. Thank you.
The recipient of this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship is Professor of Psychology, Catherine L. Lowe. Catherine, please join me. Martin Seligman, psychologist, educator, and author, once said, "Psychology is much bigger than just medicine or fixing unhealthy things. It's about education, work, marriage. It's even about sports. What I want to do is see psychologists working to help people build strengths in all of these domains. Through research and scholarship on eating disorders and obesity, you have contributed greatly to your field, practice, and treatment. You help those suffering the effects of eating disorders, offering patients and families ways to cope and develop strength. One colleague writes, Dr. Loeb has made a remarkable contribution to our understanding of eating disorders, and her work lays out the framework for an economically viable approach to avoiding obesity, one of the most significant health issues we face as a society today. Your treatment outcome research in eating disorders has led to international recognition, prestigious grants, conference presentations, and a position on the editorial board of the International Journal of Eating Disorders. In the course of your career, you have been awarded 7 grants totaling more than $1.7 million in funding. You have also edited and published a book, Family Therapy for Adolescent Eating and Weight Disorders, and you have written 17 book chapters and 35 peer-reviewed articles. You've conducted case studies and other research on family-based treatment, which brings parents into the fold alongside mental health and medical professionals to spur the healing process in children and young adults. Your research has also changed the way psychologists, doctors, and other experts identify and diagnose eating disorders in both children and adolescents. More recently, you've been focusing on obesity and reducing youth cases through feeding strategies and behavioral economics. When students work with you on research, they see your contributions firsthand and in turn are able to make their own. In this way, your research affects the classroom too. Since your arrival at FDU in 2008, you've impacted your school, college, and university. Under her leadership, another colleague writes, the PhD program in clinical psychology was recently awarded reaccreditation from the American Psychological Association for the maximum number of years possible. Your dedication to and research contributions in the field of psychology, and for these and more, we are proud to bestow upon you this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship. Congratulations.
Thank you, Provost Capuano. Education has been an integral part of my family culture for generations, but fraught with challenges, particularly in Eastern Europe in the late 1930s. As our keynote speaker and social justice scholar, as well as my good friend Kyati Joshi can attest to, this was a hostile time and place for my Jewish grandparents, who continued to seek out learning opportunities against all odds and until their determined escape to a better life, free of persecution. I inherited their determination, defying the system in my own smaller way by pursuing advanced degrees despite my community's strictly traditional gender role expectations. And my wonderful husband and children who are here today are living proof that despite the warnings from many well-meaning older members of my childhood synagogue, a woman who prioritizes education in her 20s is not destined to live a lonely life without a family. Seriously, some of my students have heard the story that when I told people back home that one of my college majors was women's studies, the response was frequently and without humor, "What is that, home economics?" I also heard no end of eat in my culture, so it may not be surprising that my clinical and research expertise is, as Provost Capuano said, in eating and weight disorders. So a heartfelt thank you to my parents who supported my educational goals, and to Bruce, Rebecca, Jonah, and Michelle who are here today. Many thanks to Provost Capuano, who brought me to Fairleigh Dickinson, and to Provost Karen and Nadine Mills, who have guided and supported my career at the university. A big thank you to Bob McGrath, who nominated me for this award, and to Ron Dumont and Juliana Lackenmeyer for supporting my application, and to all my other good friends in the School of Psychology. And a final thank you to my students, with whom I so enjoy sharing my ingrained passion for education, and who, as a student active learner, inspire and challenge me to continually expand my own knowledge base. Thank you.
The recipient of this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching is Professor of Computer Science and Management Information Systems, Harvey Lowy. Harvey, please join me at the podium. Congratulations. Writer, lecturer, and mythologist Joseph Campbell said, "The job of an educator is to teach students to see the vitality in themselves." Your commitment to your students and to computer science is vital at FDU. As the world relies more and more on computers and technology, you encourage your students and supply them with the knowledge necessary to succeed in their careers. For 30 years, Harvey has been an excellent teacher and dedicated mentor to our students and a valued contributor to our computer science, MIS, and e-commerce programs, writes one colleague. The courses he teaches equips our students well for their employment prospects and helps them launch their IT careers. Another faculty member adds, his courses are very popular and get filled up very quickly. Our school has to maintain a waiting list for his courses every term. Even before students reach your class, you make an impression with visits to open houses, admitted student days, local community colleges and high schools, fostering interest in information technology and promoting FDU. Students refer to your classes as engaging and well-paced. One student says, "I usually left with the feeling that we were working together in a partnership to expand our understanding of the computer world." He built confidence in me, another student writes. He is able to make difficult concepts clear using practical examples. His sense of humor also helped me pay attention through the more tedious material. He makes interesting topics that are that much more enjoyable, a former student says. And finally, Dr. Lowy also draws upon his years of industry experience to constantly remind students of the real-world relevance of what they are learning. Another part of being an educator is to continue learning and developing new areas of expertise. You attend workshops and stay current on the latest developments in your industry to bring fresh information directly to your classroom. You established the Oracle Database Certification Program and coordinated the IBM Academic Initiative, subsequently receiving grants to develop new courses and a local area network for research and teaching purposes. With great enthusiasm, you support your students in so many ways. In 2008, your colleagues in University College acknowledged your contributions to FDU with the Outstanding Teacher Award. So today, we add to that accolade, honoring you with a Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I feel very honored to receive this award, and I want to thank the committee for selecting me. When I started at FDU, I had little teaching experience. Fortunately, there were two professors who provided guidance along the way. Richard Bronson and Alfredo Tan have helped me throughout my career, and I am grateful to them. Of course, I want to thank my best friend, my wife Karen, who has always been there for me, providing everything from A to Z. Now, I suppose I should discuss some elaborate theory on teaching that is the basis of how I perform in the classroom. However, I am speaking to my peers, who are all excellent teachers, so I will skip that. Instead, let's look into the future and see how technology might change teaching. We already have online courses offered by FDU and other universities. Would students really know if the teacher of an online course is a human or a computer? As artificial intelligence matures, could we not have computers replace people as teachers? After all, let's recall the Jeopardy episode where IBM's Watson software competed quite successfully against the two greatest human Jeopardy winners of all time. that clearly showed the superiority of information recall that computers have over people. But this does not address the ability of computers to teach. Suppose that we could develop androids that look and act completely human. Could they replace people as teachers? If so, a small sample of benefits would be: 1, androids can teach an unlimited number of courses per semester. 2, androids could be programmed to teach every course in every department. 3, androids don't need medical benefits or any benefits at all, just an oil change. During an exam, androids can watch and record every student and replay the recording anytime. 5, androids can grade exams at high speed and give them back to students quickly. On the other hand, android teachers could be hacked by clever students to obtain high grades. Also, androids, unlike human teachers, cannot show compassion, mercy, or humor. So hopefully, the era of android teachers is still in the future. Thus, we all can breathe easier since we have some more time before we have to worry about those android teachers. Thank you.
So here's the thing. Just as we have many faculty who have given years of distinguished service to FDU, we have many staff members who make outstanding contribution to the success of the university. These pillars of FDU have served the university with commitment and distinction for 10 years or more. They have promoted civility on campus, have shown unusual concern for the welfare of students, and serve as role models for their colleagues and students. This award is made to no more than 2 people from each campus each year. I'm proud to introduce the Metropolitan Campus recipients of the Pillars of the University Award. The first recipient is Ruben C. Flores, Director of Residence Life. Ruben? Ruben started his career at FDU in 2002 as Assistant Director of Residence Life for Global Programming, then Operations, and he became Director of Residence Life in 2007. He is driven by the philosophy that we will provide our students a home away from home, and that's exactly what he has done, preparing a caring, nurturing, and supportive home that promotes a positive learning environment, fosters a sense of community, and cultivates an appreciation of diversity. For example, he established a social media and civility campaign that encourages people to THINK. And you'll see various things around campus for that, before they post negative messages on social media. The letters stand for the THINK being an acronym for asking if it's true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind. He also started the Residence Life Fellows program to build interaction between students and faculty and staff, and created a substance-free residence hall. Always looking to enhance services, Ruben has also spearheaded the development of an online housing system. He is a guiding mentor for our students and a dynamic contributor throughout the campus, having participated on such committees as the FDU Health Task Force and the Behavioral Intervention Team. He currently serves as the Vice President for the Professional Administrative Senate. For this institution, Ruben has always done the right thing, and that makes him a wonderful pillar of Fairleigh Dickinson University. And it should be said that in the residence halls here, there is never a roommate assignment that doesn't work out. The residence halls are always properly heated and cooled, Nothing ever breaks, and there is no misbehavior at all.
Thank you, Joe. I must say this is an incredibly humbling honor to stand here and receive an award for the work that I do and for the work that I value very much. I'm aware that this recognition actually represents the efforts of a number of people, and I want to recognize my staff in the Office of Residence Life who work very tirelessly to provide the services and programs that we do offer. Rebecca, Miss Lillian, Kushan, Arusha, Juanita, and Phil. They're a wonderful team, and I can't forget the wonderful Arias, of course. My beloved late grandmother, Ana Rosa Martinez, came to the U.S. from Mexico towards the end of World War II. And around the 50s, along with my proud veteran grandfather, Vincent, would follow her sister, Aurelia, to the bustling cities of Gary and East Chicago, Indiana, because there was opportunities of steel industry and hope and a dream that they were seeking. She worked as a janitor to raise and care for 4 grandchildren, and while she was not afforded a formal education, she was one of the smartest people I knew. And no matter the task, she instilled in me the importance in taking pride in my work and the value of a job well done. Whether it was as a janitor during my college years, as a clerk at the bookstore, a baseball coach, a cook, and even as a paper boy in town. My place in this world is without equivocation the result of her many sacrifices for me to attend college. She was a small woman, but a stalwart figure to everyone who knew her, and a strong woman of faith and conviction who would have been extremely proud of today. I owe it to her to succeed, but more importantly, to help my students succeed and encourage them to do the best as well. I'd also like to recognize my dear late parents, Ruben and Perla Flores, as well as my friends and colleagues and mentors and life teachers and students from Indiana University, the Pennsylvania State University, and St. John's University for their influence and teachings for me today. My hope is that I will have done or said something that would have been meaningful and had an impact on our students and our staff and our faculty that would make a difference for our students. That the work of the Office of Residence Life would continue to engage and inspire students to live, learn, grow, and succeed, and continue to help shape the trajectory of their lives one interaction at a time. Jan van Zant once tweeted, "Education is not limited to the classroom. It takes place in the kitchen, on the corner, as you walk, when you listen, and in the silence." I'm proud to be a member of the Fairleigh Dickinson University family, a world-class institution that values learning in all of its forms, inside and outside of the classroom. FDU, thank you very much for this wonderful honor. I appreciate it.
Our second recipient from the Metropolitan Campus is Frank M. Lawson, Director of Budgeting Services. Before I read that, I just want to say I've been here, this is my 37th year. Looks like it's Frank's 30th year. I think I've known you all of them. When I think of what pillar means, pillar of FDU, this is one of the first faces that I see. For more than 30 years, Frank has been serving FDU, skillfully and so accurately analyzing the numbers that drive our mission. He is responsible for gathering and measuring financial data critical to the budget process, fixed asset and inventory management and cost analysis reporting. It sounds complicated because it really is Greek to many of us, but Frank is always patient, always understanding, graciously assists all of us by answering our many questions relating to departmental budget concerns, resolving purchase order inquiries, preparing analytical reports, and so many other problems and challenges we face when breaking down the numbers. His extensive knowledge of the university's financial reporting databases, as well as the fixed asset system software, makes Frank an invaluable member of our community. And his accurate and timely monthly analyses have enabled us to make important strategic decisions while ensuring the fiscal health of the university, which makes all of our incredibly important endeavors possible. Frank is well known for always going beyond what is required, and that starts with his long workday, which rarely ends before 7 p.m., or later than that when I call. He is also well known for volunteering to help anyone with any project. Indeed, you would be hard-pressed to find a kinder individual. He's a man worthy of our admiration, and today we salute him as a pillar of FDU.
Thank you, Provost Kiernan, for the kind words. Thank you so much to the nominating committee for this honor. It is something that I will always treasure. Little did I know when I was sitting in a classroom on Fairley's Rutherford campus pursuing my MBA degree that someday this university that I love for learning would also be the ideal place for me to spend my career. I am truly blessed with a job that I love to do and to be part of a university that is comprised of so many wonderful people. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
So here's the thing. I'm looking at this program that was distributed, and I looked at my name, of course. And I'm reminded that some years ago, not too long ago, I invited a prominent person to speak on my campus. The audience was assembled, and the speaker was alarmingly late. And I called him on his cell phone. He said, "Pete, I'm lost. I can't find FDU. I've been to 3 campuses. I just left St. E's. Before that, I was at Drew." I said, "Well, you said you've been at 3 campuses." He said, "Well, the first time I followed my GPS. It took me somewhere. It was the college at Florham. So I turned around and I left." I'm proud to introduce the Florham campus recipients of the Pillars of the University. The first is Sarah Acevedo, Director of Campus Life Operations. Sarah? Sarah is a proud alumna of FDU who survived one of my classes. Sarah has been a role model for our students for more than 25 years and has served at the Rutherford campus and the Metropolitan campus and the college at Florham and the Florham campus for the last 15 years. Students know her as friendly and caring with great wisdom. Her colleagues know her as hardworking, conscientious, ethical, a great multitasker. But the best way to describe Sarah is to say that she is always there for our students no matter what. She was there during a hurricane, and she was there for 9 days afterwards when the power was out. She's there with lozenges and tissues when students are sick. She's with them at the train station. She takes them grocery shopping. She encourages their studies. She takes them on nature expeditions. And when her students are stressed, she is even known to bring her dogs around to comfort them. She has created many programs that promote cultural, global, and ethical awareness. She supplies students with the information, the resources, and encouragement they need to become self-advocates for their own development. She has brought her passion to many university efforts, from orientation to homecoming, and of course her weekly calendar updates that tell us where we need to be. She has worn many hats as well, from President of Campus Council today to professional administrative senate. So in every respect, she is a true pillar of Fairleigh Dickinson University.
Thank you very much for this award. I would be remiss if I did not show my appreciation to both students and employees that I've been blessed to work with over these many years. I've been inspired by the humanity, integrity, leadership, courage, wisdom, and decency of many individuals, and I would like to acknowledge some of them today. Ann Fletcher, George Claxton, Joan Ludwizak, Jeff Weinman, Jerome Whitfield, Mark Wace, Brenda Jackson, Hanya Ferrara, Karen Hamilton, Marjorie Hall, Janice Sullivan, J. Michael Adams, Rose D'Ambrosio, Shelley Drucker, Chris Capuano, Peter Woolley, Dick Frick, Paul Palladino, Angela Carfagna, Jen Dice-Hoffert, Jazz Verum, Danushi Fernando, and Andre Turner. This is an exciting time at the university with a dynamic vision in place, and I'm honored to be part of the present and the future of this great institution. Thank you very much.
The second recipient for the Florham campus is Jennifer Noon, Associate Director of Athletics. Jen's outstanding service to our athletic department during the last decade has had a far-reaching impact on the campus. She has done an extraordinary job helping student athletes become successful students first, keeping their priorities straight and handling the challenges of their difficult academic and athletic schedules. Jen is unmatched, really, in her concern for our students, and I'm thinking particularly of an episode last year, a very vexing problem in the dorms, which brought her to campus nights and nights, right, in a row for weeks, holding hands of both students and their parents. She provides all the support one can ask, exemplifies fairness, cooperation, and civility in everything she does, and she demands from her students, athletes, the discipline and accountability that will propel them to success, not just on the field, but more importantly, off the field. In addition to being the Associate Athletic Director, Jen coaches women's field hockey and golf. Her players learn the importance of loyalty, responsibility, and respect for one another. She is that coach that not only teaches the game, but the lessons that will last a lifetime. She's also a well-recognized leader advocating for the positive impact of women in athletics and the positive impact of athletics on women. She is currently president of the New Jersey Association of Intercollegiate Athletics for Women, where she well promotes FDU and the interests of our student athletes. Jen is a pillar of Fairleigh Dickinson University.
Wow. Professor Harvey, I will be using my Android. This is where my speech is, so I am one of those futures using that. Usually I'm in front of my student athletes and leading them and preparing them for battle. So this is a unique speech, and I'm truly honored to stand here among prestige, alumni, faculty, colleagues, and I thank you for being a part of this highly esteemed university. First and foremost, to my family, without you and your upbringings, I would not be where I am today. If it wasn't for you teaching me to always be on top, but to stay guided and be humbled with what I will do. Thank you. I also would like to share a tradition with you in the locker room before I prepare them for battle, which is tomorrow. We do have a game. But one of the things that we do is we describe to each other, and I say 3 things, and they give me an answer back. And I ask them, what are we? They respond with family. I say, who do we lean on? They respond with each other. And I ask them, how do we get things done? And they say, together. So with that being said, to you, this family, I want to thank you, faculty, staff, my colleagues in the athletics department, along with the students. They are the reason why I love to do what I do, and I couldn't be more appreciative of this award. So thank you.
And now I'll recall President Drucker to the podium to make the presidential citations.
Well, here's the thing.
You made an impression.
I ask Ann Anastasia, Mary Farrell, and Marjorie Hall to please join me at the podium.
Thank you.
George Bernard Shaw once wrote, "We are made wise not by the recollection of the past, but by the responsibility for our future." By this standard, the recipients of this year's presidential citation have achieved great wisdom because they have dedicated themselves to the future, to maturing and nurturing young minds, offering exceptional service to their families, and providing a path to success for the next generation. Although each serves different students with different backgrounds, talents, and ambitions, they apply the same amazing devotion to their craft and to their students, and in the process becoming academic guides and personal mentors. With tremendous empathy, extraordinary purpose, and above all, unyielding love and commitment, they have taught their students unique lessons in learning and in life that has stood the test of time. Anne has superbly guided so many students through their biology and science program, providing important advice and counsel along the way. Mary has helped so many students overcome learning disabilities and become successful in college and in life. Marjorie has been there for so many students who have come from disadvantaged backgrounds, but who are given the support to succeed while here and in the future. These superstars go beyond even those precious roles, and each has been highly visible and prominent in serving our community in other ways. Anne, for example, leads so many university celebrations as our Grand Marshal. Mary has been very active in the Faculty Senate, serving on numerous key committees, and most recently contributing to the development of our strategic plan. And Marjorie has served on 2 presidential search committees, and recently has taken a leadership role as a member of the steering committee of the Middle States Reaccreditation. In and out of the classroom, they embody what's most special about the FDU community. For their superlative service to FDU and their students, and for their passionate performance of their noble goals, I'm privileged today to present each of them with the presidential citation. On behalf of the university community, Sheldon Drucker, President, September 16, 2015.
Thank you. I did what I was paid to do, the best way I knew how. Thank you.
Gary.
Thank you, President Drucker. I am proud of the university for its 25-year commitment to students with disabilities. I am proud of the many regional center students who succeeded here and went on to have successful careers. I am proud of the many teachers we have trained to help struggling readers learn to read. I'm very grateful to the university for a great career and a wonderful group of friends and colleagues. Very grateful to my family, my husband Greg is here today, for their support for all these years. You can't believe when I started here. Thank you very much for this honor.
It is indeed a difficult task to find the words to express my feelings of gratitude to President Drucker for selecting me for this honor. I must admit that initially I was stunned when I learned that I was selected, among so many other candidates at the university who share a common passion for education. Without false modesty, I did not take this journey alone. I am a part of a team, and we are strong together. Numerous people have supported me along the way. First, I was blessed to have parents who were both educators. They instilled in all four of their children the importance of education. All of their children are educators, and we take pride in knowing that we are changing lives by helping others achieve their goal of getting an education. I'm truly blessed to be in partnership with such a wonderful EOS staff. We all understand the importance of education. We take pride in our students' achievement. Please allow me just a few minutes to mention each of my team members who have made it possible for me to stand and accept this award this afternoon. Mary Ann Miola is the first person I hired over 30 years ago. While we shared laughs, joys, and tears, she is truly my sister. Brad Levy and I have worked together for 22 years, and we do share a brain. I've learned so much from him. I'm blessed to have him in my life. Lizette Garcia is one of the best counselors I've ever worked with. Lizette fully understands the needs of students, and she is committed to helping them grow and succeed in the classroom and in life. Christina Jones has a nurturing approach with students to make sure that they leave FDU with a clear understanding that they must work hard to be successful. David Jones shows so much commitment to students, and it gives us his time unselfishly. Erica Rupert goes above and beyond the call of duty to help students to realize their true potential and is always willing to help. Angelica Montero is an FDU EOF alum, and she understands the challenges facing students and works closely with them to ensure that they succeed. Last but not least, Richard Mills is an excellent role model, and students admire him and many want to emulate him, and that makes him proud. I am honored that my mother, God bless you, Warrini Hall, and my brother, Dr. Alexander Hall, an FDU alum, and my son Schubert, also an alum, are able to join me this afternoon as I receive this honor. They are my support. Without them, life would be much more challenging. There are so many other people, far too many to name, who I would like to acknowledge for their support. I will reach out to many of them and thank them for all they've done to help me along this journey. In closing, again, I thank President Drucker for this award, and more importantly, thank him for his service to FDU. It is under his leadership that we stand as one of the leaders in global education and are one of New Jersey's top educational institutions. He is leaving the university in good hands, and I look forward to the exciting times that lie ahead for FDU. Just a few more things. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Al, and thank you, Rosemary. And Teresa, it's almost time. And Yvonne, thank you for being my friend. And Ken, we will miss you. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of the ceremony.
So here's the thing. You've heard good words about teamwork and what we accomplish together as a team. Convocation is not an easy event to put together. The planning process begins way back in the spring or even before that. And it's guided by a special team of individuals who I want to recognize before we leave. It's a special team, and the quarterback of that team is Michelle Vaccaro from my office. And here's the bench. Craig Morton, Angela DiPaolo, Debbie Minervini, Martha Young, Donna Wilson, Barbara Dawson, Mary Kaiser, Gail Lemaire, Jean Mazzola, and everyone who works in public safety or facilities on the Metropolitan campus. That's quite a team. So congratulations again to all the awardees. I ask that you please join us and all of our colleagues for a reception next door in the Rothman Center. We will convocate again about this time next year at the Florham campus, where the Florham provost has promised good weather, no traffic, and lobster. Have a great academic year, and please remain seated until the platform party and the faculty have exited the auditorium. Have a nice day.